Merits as well as Godfatherism. It is very difficult for persons to believe that through merits we could get into Enam, we could get into ENS and a host of other big schools. They call them les grandes écoles in Cameroon, but we think that through merits others still make their ways through these institutions and are serving Cameroon. But is the concept of Godfatherism actually real? Is it very, very implicated as far as entering into these schools is concerned? We are also going to be looking, if time permits, we're going to be looking at local government and political transition in Cameroon. What are the stakes? We must remember that addressing the youths on the 10th of February last year, as he addressed the youth, the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Paul Biya, talked about the need for young people to start thinking about taking up a leadership position in Cameroon. How prepared are the youths? How prepared are the different political platforms in Cameroon to ensure that we have a smooth political transition in the nation? We are discussing these two topics with our panelists who are in the house already. Our permanent consultant, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, is in the house with us this evening. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, Cameroonians and viewers of Prime Hour. Today we are discussing a very sensitive topic, and I want every Cameroonian from every nooks and cranny of this nation to stay glued to their screen, because we're going to be educating you on some very vital issues that concerns our nation. Stay tuned as we bring you very vital information.
We also in the company of Ndiwum Emmanuel. He is a very active member of Cameroon civil society. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to all my co-panelists, and good evening to all the lovers of Prime. And I must say Happy New Year, because it's my first appearance since this year began. The AFCON came and punctured the Prime program, and many people were writing and asking what went wrong. So we are back, and we are back on a good footing and on a very fertile topic for that matter.
Okay, we also in the company of Clinton Lekunze. He is at Enam, one of the big schools out here in our nation. Also a postgraduate law student at the University of Buea. You are in two of Cameroon's most prestigious schools. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Thank you, co-panelists. Good evening to all Cameroonians who are listening to us this evening. Good evening to my friends out there in Yaoundé. Good evening to all my classmates from Enam. Good evening, Yaoundé. Good evening, Cameroon.
Okay.
Thank you.
We also in the company of Chi Dieudonne. He is a very vibrant militant of the Social Democratic Front. He is in Yaoundé. He left all the way from Yaoundé, the nation's capital, to be part of this edition of the program. Good evening, Chi, and welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I want to greet my fellow panelists, especially Mr. Lekunze, whom you introduced as being a student of Enam. It's very interesting to have a debate with him, and I want to salute the courage and do hope that we will continue in this spirit, that the generational transition that we are talking of will be one with a major difference. So my sincere encouragements, brother. I want to greet our televiewers and of course the great family of the Social Democratic Front, all those that are fighting for the effective implementation of a federation in Cameroon, and special greetings and much gratitude to my mentor, the National Chairman, His Excellency Ndiwum Emmanuel.
Okay. How is Ndiwum Emmanuel?
No, the chairman is fine, but constantly at work, you know. The stakes are very high, and Cameroon is going through a lot. And as a father who has always loved this nation, he is not sleeping, constantly finding ways to contribute to make sure that we put Cameroon back on a good footing. Okay.
I'll start with you, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. When we talk about public entrance examination into some of the schools in Cameroon, what comes to your mind by the reading of what you've gathered in the quarters?
A lot of us sitting on this platform, Mr. Leo, are victims of this entrance examinations in the country. We've been in this country with school year, and we've attempted some of these exams. We've also seen friends who attempted some of these exams. Somebody said when you go to America, they ask you, what can you offer? If you go to France, they ask you, what's your qualification? If you come to Cameroon, they ask you, who do you know? And that statement, if not 100%, is 99.9% correct. In Cameroon, it is who you know, is not what you know, and is not what you can offer. And this has been a very serious issue because the leadership of a country reflects the growth of the country. Bad leadership automatically connotes the kind of growth the country experiences. And this leadership is born from these institutions that supposedly are called professional institutions. Children graduate from universities, obtain degrees that are competent enough to make them offer their services. They are being asked to go to a particular professional school called School of Magistracy, School of Higher Economy. I don't see the difference between him that has gone to a journalism school with him that graduated with a degree in journalism at the University of Boya. A man who has gotten a degree in journalism is as competent as him that goes in journalism school. I don't see.
But the journalism program in the University of Boya is a professional program. Eh?
That's why
yeah.
we still have ASMAC now, Advanced School of Advanced School of Mass Communication. It's a professional school for journalism. That means you can still leave University of Boya and go to ASMAC. You'll tell a lawyer to leave University of Boya after obtaining law and go to ENAM to become a magistrate and all. I'm wondering the differences in all those things put together. What I want to say is that in Cameroon, we have institutions that people go there based on who they know. That's the reason why average people who have somebody can go to professional school more than him that is competent and intelligent that can go there who has nobody. So our professional schools is a group of persons who are there based on who they know. They are not there based on what they know. And that's the reason why if you go to our public service, you have a lot of incompetent people occupying responsibilities that they are not able to carry out. I watched a video once of a particular principal in a school that could not express herself. And they gave a mayor a note to read, or a teacher a note. The teacher could not read, and the teacher had to go to professional school based on who he or she knows, not based on what they can offer. And that is the reason why our system is very, very frustrating. Okay. I wrote once on a social media platform, I said the reason why we have a lot of average students in most of our professional institutions in Cameroon is because the people who go to those institutions are people who are connected to somebody, not people who are competent in class. Okay. That's why you see a lot of first-class degree holders in the street lamenting and frustrating why others with third class are in professional schools. Okay,
before I get to you, Ndiwum, let me just get from him. You went through, you were successful. How did you succeed? Yeah, I want you to share your experience with us.
Thank you very much once more, Mr. Liu, for giving me this opportunity to share to Cameroonians on my own personal experience. I'm going to talk about my own personal experience. Mr. Liu, you know, there are two people that can damage the society. When I say two people can damage the society, I will talk about those who know and do not talk, and those who talk that they do not know. So I am giving it from my own experience. Now, there have been this mentality of you must reach a category, you must be a category of, you must be of a certain category, or you must know somebody, as Apostle said, before you can move into these institutions. I have sampled the opinions of many concerning these institutions and the way they react to it. Many people are even reluctant to dare when it comes to this institution. That is a mentality that is keeping many people out there, and they are unable to take the risks. You know, in life, you know that is not everything. I said, I was discussing with my friends, and I told them that when you find yourself in a situation where everything seems to be difficult, as some people put it, let me put it in quote, somebody like me, I decided to, there was a time, Not that I succeeded to this institution just like that. I struggled too, as Apostle was saying. I have written, you cannot count the number of times I have written too. My friends out there can testify to you. And there was a time I told my friends that they said not all that glitter is gold. I'm going to gather all that glitters. When I go home, I start selecting what is gold. I enter into it. I used a mechanism where where I consulted some people. There is a common principle that you should follow no road. When to succeed into any professional institution, to me, I will advise you that you should have a mentor. And when you're having a mentor, you should have a positive mentor. There are people outside, you see them, you sample their opinions. Can you write a NAM? No, a NAM, I don't have bribes, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. And at the end, there are some people who don't even know about the exam. I will tell you without contradiction that there are some exams that they launch and they end only in Yaoundé because of lack of information. Some people are not even willing to take off. Some people are not even willing to register for the exam. Some people are not even willing.
Yeah, maybe it's also because of what they have gone through. Like you say, you wrote many times now.
I wrote many times. It's not because of, you cannot just get it like that, Mr. Leo. It is a competitive exam.
If you are intelligent, why should you not get it?
If you are intelligent, let me tell you, it's not a matter of
intelligence.
No, it is a matter of intelligence, and it is a matter only institution. If you go to EMIA, you go to EMIA, ENAM, you go to ENS and the rest, any institution has its own methodology of answering the questions. If you send me to go and write ENS, that maybe the methodology is multiple choice questions, I might come out unsuccessful. But when you master a methodology, like any other exam in Cameroon, ENAM, EMIA, they are methodologies to follow, which we have been advising our fellow ones, and they have been using it and have been succeeding. I can testify. I have many cases. I have many people who have come back. I have mentored them. I've told them, do like this, do like this, do like this. They have succeeded. They can testify.
You organize classes for them?
We organize classes for them. Thank you for that question. If you go to a place like Boya, there is a team in Boya in the Lycée Technique Moliko that train Anglophones for common law and classic ENAM. That team proved the results they are producing. They produce at least 100%, 90% in ENAM, EMIA. This year they produced 36 of them wrote EMIA, that they attended those classes. I'm not sure if those students that had money they could come for classes. All of the 36 passed, though along the way sports, medicals, auras and all those things had to eliminate some. I have some that went successfully through it. I have students who have passed through the training center in Lycée Technique Moliko in Boya. The team is called the Standard Team. They have passed through it and they are making results. In particular,
what are those teaching in that school?
They are graduates from ENAM.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I passed. Let me take you. I passed through the school. I passed through it. I passed sometimes. I could not make in the auras, and I had to maybe intensify the way I prepared, and I succeeded.
Okay. Yes, Ndiwum, you're laughing, but why do many people think that to get into ENS and ENAM and a host of others, you must know somebody?
Mr. Leo, when you say why do people think, you are like struggling to lighten the weight of the reality of what is obtaining in the field. I like my brother's courage when he says, you know, no matter how you try to hide it, at times nature makes it to come out. So I must thank him first of all for using the word, you must follow who know root. He said it unconsciously. And listen. He said it unconsciously and he was saying the right thing. In this country called Cameroon, you know, I know, we know, that many results, publications of ENAM have been published in the morning, and by afternoon, the list have been brought down, and by evening, another list has come up, whereas different names and different positions figure. And at the end, it takes only the head of state intervention for certain names to be reinstated.
Yeah, there was a year that it was really very...
yes. Let me come. We know that in this country, people have sat in for history in ENS Bambili, and their names have come out in the biology department because the amount they pay and they could not, the people who took the money found a position only in the biology department. We know in this country that state registered nurses have been unable to administer right injections or treatment to patients because they did not go there through merit. We equally know that in this country, the only CV that rings now is a call from a high office. I am a victim. And I am telling you that I am talking like a life testimony.
Yeah, but the question is, I really want us, when we talk health issues, it is really very serious. It is true, the person might not have passed to get into state registered nurse school, but at least you have 2-3 years training there. So even at least administering drugs, it may be a mistake.
Mr. Leo,
yeah.
If you were an average student in school, go into any profession, you shall remain average in that profession. Quote me anywhere. You cannot just all of a sudden, when in class, you used to take the last position, and because you are in an arm, you are already taking the first position. No, hell no, it's a lie. I want to also tell you that we have people in the diaspora who have been brain boxes in this country, who never had a godfather to lead them into an arm, to lead them into Nsah, or to lead them to economies. They finally left this country because of frustration, and they are doing big in other countries, in all domains of life. Whereas those who could not measure up to the average in class are comfortably seated in an arm. We equally know that in this very country, we have people whom, because they were stubborn in their houses and their parents had the means, choose to send them into some prestigious schools. Let me just give you an example. I went for a graduation ceremony in Kumba, where my wife happened to be there. I met a Francophone girl who could not express herself in English. When I asked her, how do you sit for semester exam? No, she was very honest and gospel in her truth telling. She told me that, no, her father paid 3 million for her post. She came in. And the next question I asked is, how do you sit for semester exam? She said in each exam, each semester exam, her 300,000 francs is in the envelope. And she validates everything. And that even as she graduates today, she will not go into the teaching. But her money will be passing.
This information you are giving to the public, she confided in you in secret now?
I was asking it to share to the public because it was burning in my heart. If I were the one there, I don't have that 300,000.
Would she be happy to hear you say these things?
Well, if she is not happy, then she should become a good teacher as from this evening. If she's not happy about it, then she should drop her matricle from that teaching. And but the examples are abound. There are many. When you hear these things of Enam,
you might have said you might still have passed that information without directly saying this of your wife's. I'm sure she was confiding in you because she trusted you. For you to be saying this in public, I don't think it's very professional.
Well, whatever the case, the information has gone. And again, I want to tell you that in this country, the dreams of many intelligent young people who come from poor backgrounds have been washed away because they don't have the means.
They don't have godfathers.
They don't have godfathers. So the spirit of godfatherism in Cameroon, I am just asking this question to our authorities tonight. What are you people still doing? Why are you people delaying in enshrining godfatherism into the school curriculum of Cameroon so that we start studying it?
Okay, Mr.
We have seen in Cameroon, Mr. Leo, somebody who studied transport and logistics being a minister of secondary education. Do you think that is where we say people who know nothing about where they are placed to do everything where they don't know anything there?
Okay, Mr. Chi Dieudonne, I don't know. Yes, Joshua Osei, a flag bearer to the last presidential elections, actually said that if he were to be made president, he would shut down
Enam. I don't know whether that is the impression you also have, but do we really think that nobody goes to the Enams, the ERIC on merit? Because I have friends who have gone into some of these schools.
Well,
because they have nobody.
Well, Mr. Leo, I will tell you that when you hear all what has been said, and probably all what is in the public opinion outside, it tells you that these two phenomena exist. Merit and Godfatherism, they coexist. What is important is how relevant is merit and how relevant is Godfatherism. The level of their relevance, the level of relevance of any of them will depend on the way the country is properly governed, on the way the country is governed. Because even those that are in the USA, if they will tell you more about merit, because the country is governed in such a way that merit is more visible. But when they tell you more about merit, it does not cancel the fact that Godfatherism ultimately exists in the USA. These are phenomena that exist together, but it is the level of governance, how properly governed a country is, that will determine whether it is merit that is more perceived or is Godfatherism that is more perceived. When you look, for example, it is unheard of when you see, for example, a government that has been entrusted, that has had the privilege to manage a country for over 40 years with almost the same people turning around. They come out and they tell you that if you study history, you study geography, you study this, you will never work. So they have governed the country in such a way as to hold the people down so that they can manipulate them. That is why such people will be conscious of this Godfatherism. Because if the country was properly governed in such a way that many people can have their jobs elsewhere, there will be, this notion of Godfatherism will be less perceived. You have students that come out from the faculty of law in universities, and they have to travel to Nigeria, some travel to Rwanda, and they go and spend millions in the law school in order to become lawyers. What explains that? That is how poorly governed our country is. Because if we are training human resources and putting public policy in such a way that permits people to have jobs in the private sector and, opening up the economy so that each and everybody can live well, you will see that we are going to limit, the visibility of this Godfatherism stuff. But well, like I told you, they are two concepts that coexist. But the problem is, if we much talk about Godfatherism, it's probably because of bad governance. That said, the Social Democratic Front, with respect to the last election, presidential elections of 2018, we stood for the fact that if we were to control the Supreme Magistracy, we would have put an end to Enam. And we were very clear on this. This has got nothing to do with people like Lekunze. We are not saying that everybody that is in Enam is not competent or this or that. No. We simply wanted to take that step as a governance mechanism in the education sector that will make an administration more people-oriented than individual-oriented. Because obviously, when you have Godfatherism a little bit too visible, obviously you will have so many people that will be serving individuals other than the people, other than institutions. So we wanted to open up the training, and we said we're going to open up professional training schools in the various domains within the universities, directly in the universities. If you get into the university, you're studying law or political science or administration, you should be studying it and coming up with your CV in such a way that at one point in time, we cannot look at your CV and recruit you into the administration. That is what we were proposing, and you will see that it is making debates now. Even in France, they were talking about the closure of Nsah. Yeah, you will see in most of these very performant countries who have very excellent administration, for example, like the USA, they don't have Nsah, but they are functioning very well. But what I have a message to tell the people, that when you notice this, if they get me very properly, like I said, there are two phenomena that exist, even in the USA. But how visible you perceive them depends on the way the country is governed. So if these people, the Cameroonian people that are watching us, especially the Cameroonian youth, if they want the level of Godfatherism to become less significant, they have to get implicated in the political affairs of their country, because that is where policy is shaped. It is only in the political sphere that we are going to make sure that people don't create artificial poverty to keep the majority hostage so that they can manipulate them. It is only there. That is why when we're going in for the presidential elections, we're asking the people, if you give us the power, because we need the power to do this. So I'm telling the Cameroonian people, the Cameroonian youths, go for political power at the councils, in parliament, and before getting to the presidency, go for political power and have the means to change these things. Because when we debate like this and end here, it doesn't change anything. Because those that do it, as we know that probably is not favoring the evolution of Cameroon, those that do it know it, but probably it keeps them in power. So we have to give ourselves the means to make Cameroon what we want it to be.
Apostle Ambe, Valentine Ngwa, my question to you is, Godfatherism merits, is it not also because of the number of intake? You have 50,000 persons vying for less than 50 positions. Almost everybody wants to enter this school, sir.
Yes, Mr. Leo, there is something we talk in this Cameroon called regional balance. If we need 50 persons in Enam, if we respect the term called regional balance, then we're supposed to have people from the 10 different regions of the country. The last Enam result, 80% came from the south. You and I were on this platform. That the director of Enam recruited almost 80% of those who succeeded in Enam from the south. We read the names here. All the names almost coming from the south. Are they telling us that in terms of academic prowess? Because to the best of my understanding, if we have to rate regions according to mental capacity, the South should not be among the first 5 intelligent regions of this country. So what intelligence does these people from the South have that almost all of them cover the entire Enam? And the person in office in Enam is also somebody from the South. It tells you about tribalism, it tells about Godfatherism, it tells about nepotism. And if these diseases are not chopped off from this country, we are going nowhere. I was in a conference addressing some ministers of this nation, which I'm sure they're watching this program. I was talking on patriotism. Patriotism is not the love for an individual. Neither is it a love for a nation, for a region, or a love for a tribe or an organization. It is not the love for a political party. It's a love for a nation. That is to say, if I'm coming from Bamenda and I see death in the streets of Douala, I should pick it because I'm a Cameroonian, not because I'm a Sawa. If I see there is no light in Yaoundé, I should put on that light, not because I come from Yaoundé, but because I am a Cameroonian. But what we have instilled into the very fabrics of the Cameroonian children is tribalism, is nepotism, is regionalism, is a form of multipartism. If these diseases are not scraped into our system and patriotism installed into the very curriculum of our school to teach children to have love for their country, sacrifice for their country, and even still death for their country, we are going nowhere. A Chinese man will fight for China. He will not fight for Shanghai. They will not fight for Beijing. They will fight for China. A Thai will not fight for a state in Thailand. They will fight for the nation Thailand. But what we have been taught in Cameroon is that if you are coming from Lebialem and there is death in Manu, first don't pick that death in Manu because you are not coming from Manu. And this is the reason why our professional schools and entrance exams in the country are built on multipartism, regionalism, tribalism, nepotism, and why not even multipartism?
Yeah, we saw it when the University of Marwa was created. There was an action from the people of their children was,
it is their thing. But failing to understand that Marwa is Cameroon. And every Cameroonian has the right to school in Marwa, just like a school in Yaoundé, just like a school in Bamenda, just like a school in Boya. And if this is not dealt with, we are in serious trouble. So we talk about Godfatherism, tribalism, and nepotism. When we talk about the intake of persons, if we are doing regional balance in this country, the success of a child should not be dependent on who the child knows, but based on the child's ability. The reason why the public administration is very, very ineffective, I'm sorry to say so, to is because the people who go into that policy, they don't go by merits, they go by connection. So if average people are recruited, we're going to have average governance, average leadership, average in everything. Because why? The people did not go into those institutions that govern the activities of the nation based on their brain, but based on who they know.
Now, the question I want to still limit myself to the intake. It's very small. We have so many people who want to go into it. I tried Enam once, and the number I saw there, I just told myself I would never try it again. I wrote at Lycée Leclerc. Yes, the first time, and I saw the crowd. Are we not also facing this because almost everybody wants to go in, but the intake is too small?
Thank you very much, Mr. Dio, for giving me the opportunity once more. What I am going to say is that when we are talking about the intake too, I want to make our youths, especially, because it concerns them directly, to understand something. One of the reasons that limits some people from taking this exam is failure. They fear failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. To me, I see that failure is part of success. Now, you tried it once and you gave up. You did not go in again. But now, some people, if you sample the opinion, if you go to a place like Enam, for example, I'm going to talk about what I know. You sample the opinions of the students there. I'm sure 80% will tell you that they wrote this exam more than 5 times. This is something that is very clear. 80% will say we wrote more than 5 times, we wrote more than 6. The level of success in exam, to an extent, I'm not going to say what I don't know, depend on your preparation. If you prepare well, Mr. Liu, you are going to make it. To me. Now, I want to tell you something. 2, when I'm talking about mentorship, I am in the house, I have my child, I go to work, I prepare my child, I have a school teacher who take this child for classes. I have somebody, the child attend preparatory classes. I buy preparatory materials for my child. How are you going to compare it with somebody who don't even have this information about the exam? It is going to be very, very difficult. So I am going to encourage us that rather than us Cameroonians maybe waiting to hear what is going to be sweet in our ears, we should give in, we should put in our utmost best. If we don't have the Godfather, as some people put it, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit like that? To me, if you ask me, I'm going to see that we should equate this issue of Godfather and put a mentorship. If you have a good mentor, you have a good preparation, I'm sure.
When you say good mentor, what are you saying?
I am talking about somebody who is going to, there is a problem of, when you see those who are going for this concourse, there is also an issue of choice. You see a student, you go to the university, you study linguistics, you are going to write core registry. You have bad mentorship. Enam is an institution that we have about 3 to 4 divisions, and we have sections. You have magistracy, core registry, taxation, treasury, and the rest. When you are going, a student will come to you, sir, I want to write Enam. Which section do you want to write? I don't know any section. That is the beginning of failure. You have not chosen what you can do. You go in, you study biology. For you to have somebody to mentor you, to advise you, that is like this. Somebody who have studied biology, at least you know a little bit of mathematics, go and write price, weight, and measure, that they use mathematics in writing, go and write this, go and write this. At the end, you take a bad choice, and when you take a bad choice, some students, they go into the halls, they come back with nothing. If you see people and sincere, Mr. Leo, you say you tried this exam for once. If somebody is sincere, the person is going to tell you that, I actually failed this exam. I answered the questions and I actually failed. There are years I've written and I came out and I said I have failed.
I saw the questions and but the problem is, sincerely speaking, when you look at the numbers that we write, they say they need 50 people. Whether you write, how do you select it out of that crowd?
Are those papers?
That is a problem.
In the first place?
No.
Because we have had problems in this country with such exam that we were discovered that in Yaoundé, enough papers were discovered somewhere.
No, please. I want us to be scientific. I am looking at one aspect. You are taking us elsewhere. I'm saying that let us assume that 50,000 persons are vying for 50 positions and say 10,000 write so well, how do you take the 50 persons?
That is good. That's a good question. When you look at the number of students who go in for this exam, you look at the number that they are needing, and you look at the number that actually succeed before going for orals, you are going to see that.
How do you get those to who go for orals?
Yes.
There are so many.
From the written part of the
Yes,
exam.
10,000.
Yes, from the written part of the exam. Let me tell you, we wrote, in my year, we wrote about 13,000. They needed, for my own section, they needed about 10. We passed about 74 of us. So actually, I'm thinking, I know that they mark the papers and success depend on meritocracy to an extent for me. That is what I can tell you.
But also based on what he said, regional balance.
If he can prove, okay, regional balance to an extent, yeah, is correct. Then if you talk about Godfatherism and the rest, if I did not pass through a Godfather, I cannot tell you that Nnam is on Godfatherism. I'm going to tell you the method I use in passing.
Okay, so don't be discouraged, please. If you're watching us and you wrote once like myself and I got discouraged, please don't get discouraged. Keep writing.
Yes.
Mr.
Leo, I'm itching. Do you know why I'm itching?
Yes.
Lekunze wants to tell us here that he went through merit. This name Lekunze, first of all, should be a mayor's son. A mayor's son coming from a palace. How many people sat down for that exams whose parents' names were known somewhere in this country?
I have an example, please. I have an example of somebody from my village. The father had this grinding mill. He is my friend. I don't want to call his name.
Yes.
He went into Nnam.
Okay. Thank God for his God. Now, when you are in a salarized economy like Cameroon, where the government has done everything to make it a salary economy, so that the youth see that working with a public service becomes a demigod, there is no way you can tell us that there is meritocracy. Because people will go any length to borrow what they don't even have to buy their way in. So that when they are in there, they do a lot of corruption to recover what they use to buy their way in. And I want to talk on what Apostle said a while ago, and Mr. Lekunze was bitter about the bushes trying to defend it. You and I know that in Cameroon, there are some offices that when you go there, they ask you where you come from.
Because your father was a mayor?
That's what I wanted to say. My father is not a mayor. My father has never been a mayor. So
okay, it means there is another Lekunze. So now, listen. There are offices in Cameroon that when you go in there, they ask you where you come from.
Like?
If you look at the top administrators in this country, the DOs, the governors, you'll discover that 80% of them come from one tribe. Do you want to tell me that the whole intelligence of Cameroon litters only in the south, center, in this country? Do you want to tell me that those who come from far north, those who come from southwest, northwest, west region, they are less intelligent than those administrators, the SDOs, the DOs, the governors, only coming from one region? No. And still to talk about Nnam, our head of state, one time, we are talking about public exam, and the glaring institution in Cameroon that has proven that corruption breathes high is Nnam. Because it is not once, it is not twice, so that the head of state has called to order.
So if we have 10 public exams and corruption actually rocks very high in one, it means that the other 9 are better, no? Is that what you mean?
By your philosophy, you are the one saying it. I'm not the one saying it. I started by quoting ENS. I talked of Eric, and I've talked of Nnam. But I'm talking about Nnam so well because there is a product of Nnam in the office trying to tell us that there is merit. You ask him a question of which he could not answer. 10 people succeed to go in to a particular department and they need only 40. 10,000 succeeded. What is the criteria, therefore, to select the 40 out of the 10,000? We all know how it goes. Like I said, when I took the microphone the first time, and you were so good in the orals more than the other people. I am telling you that we should say that what they say merit can be 5% true in Cameroon. 95, Mr. Leo, without mixing words, is Godfatherism.
Do you work somewhere, Mr. Ndiwum?
Yes.
Are you saying that you are the most qualified person to work where you work?
We are talking about public exams. I don't work with the public.
Because you keep insisting about the selection, that you are asking him whether he was...
No, you have asked me a question, I've answered you. I don't work with the public.
No.
I don't work with the public. We are talking about public entrance exam. That's the topic there.
Yeah.
Except you want to derail me.
No, you are derailing. You are derailing. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking a question. Instead of answering my question, you are talking to him.
Okay, Mr. Leo.
You are leaving the topic and you are addressing a panelist.
He's not addressing the issue.
No, I am not leaving the topic. The panelist forms part of the topic tonight because he comes from one of the most corrupt institutions.
That is why I'm asking the question, because you are also here. You work.
Yes.
Can we stay with what we are discussing? We are talking about entrance into. Why don't you look at it generally? It's the same like the girl who confided in you and you're bringing it. Discuss it.
Okay, you say you should look at it generally.
Yeah.
Generally, I will give you another experience, which is a local one, to tell you that corruption in Cameroon and Godfatherism is a reality. In 2007, when I just left high school, I was in Yaoundé and we were struggling to work in a chantier. Do you know that on the day of the payment, the son of the boss who was coming to inspect us, his name came top on the list of the payment, whereas he could not carry one block. You say that we should talk general. So that is to say that it is becoming more of a system. It is a disease, a cankerworm that has eaten deep into all the aspects of Cameroonian life. But then we are talking where it is more pronounced.
Okay, Enam,
ENS,
Eric.
We know all these things.
Did your family?
Okay.
Did your family gather money, or some people gather money to buy position somewhere you saw?
Well, some of them can buy and they will not tell me. I don't make up my entire family. Since they did not come to buy for me, maybe they bought for others. Since I don't make up the entire family, maybe they bought for them. Okay. But the gospel truth is that in Cameroon, exams, entrances are bought and sold. And in ENS, to be precise, they have the fixed amount.
Okay.
If you have it, you go in. That's why I told you a while ago that it is surprising that the right entrance into a call normal and somebody sees in for history and then his name comes out in the biology or chemistry department, which is a shame, and it goes unpunished, which means that it is being promoted every day. And these are the kind of people who come out there. Why you will still say again that I am talking so much on Enam. When you look at the behavior of products from Enam, don't you see that 80% of the problems of Cameroon are produced by these so-called people who know nothing when they come out empty? You discover that somebody who went in empty, came out empty, can only show pride in the society. And that is why Cameroon has a lot of problems today.
Okay.
That's why the Enam, even if I don't agree with SDF, I think on that particular point, I agree that Enam should be completely locked.
Yes, we
closed.
Yes, we take exception to your declaration that the persons who are mining positions know nothing. Yes, they may make errors, but I would not want to endorse here that. Yeah,
thank you for the correction.
I'm sure when you need a certificate, you still go back to these offices to obtain these things.
Thank you for the correction.
Yes, Mr. Chi, Dieudonne, we may be tempted because I'm reading the messages. Almost many persons actually think that they buy their way into some of these schools. Some people say that the corruption is very high. Don't we think that there are persons who are placed along the corridor of this admission that are using these opportunities to enrich themselves, and it has been going on for so long with impunity?
Well, Mr. Leo, before I say something, I want to thank my brother, Mr. Emmanuel, who has joined the right path,
the Social Democratic Party.
that of campaigning for the masses, especially the youth, to follow the path that the Social Democratic Front is channeling. You know, the truth is always bitter, but good to be spoken. So thank you for being honest this time around to make it. And I think that Cameroonian people who are very lucid have got the message. The Social Democratic Front has the way forward to make it better, without saying that all is totally dark, but we want to make it much better. That said, talking about people in the corridor, you are just like asking me if the phenomena of Godfatherism is enriching some people. Obviously, it will probably enrich some, but like I told you, Mr. Leo, the problem is not its existence or not. I have come to realize that these two exist, but the problem is, what is the relevance of the two? It's at the level of the policy, the way the country is governed. The apostle mentioned issues of tribalism with the results of Enam. I want to remind him that when you take the results of Enam, also take those of ENS, also take those of Travaux Publics, take those of Polytech, and take those of Nsah, and you try to compare, you will see that there is a kind of game. There is a kind of game. And I want to also point out one thing, because the SDF is building up the momentum for real positive change in this country. And we want to say that that positive change cannot come on tribal lines. It cannot come when we put tribalism in front. What I want to tell Cameroonians is that there are two good tribes in this country. The tribe of the poor and the tribe of the rich. And those that are members of these two tribes come from all over Cameroon. Somebody who is looking at Enam and saying that people of the South will not tell you that the people of the Southwest do not also have their own direction in which they are benefiting, that the elite is benefiting, or that the people of the West do not have their own direction, that some few people have given in an unjust manner the privileges that belong to the entire Cameroon. So this issue is simple. The governance of this country has created two tribes: the tribe of the poor and the tribe of the rich. And the poor people are a majority, and they come from all the regions of Cameroon. The rich people are in a minority, and they come from all the regions of Cameroon. This is a serious problem that we have to address. Talking about patriotism, patriotism to me is love for your fellow man. I'm a universal citizen. We are all children of one God. Well, but because we find ourselves in a state, we should think that when you are eating, or when you find yourself in public office, or anywhere that you have to serve the people, you should be serving with the spirit of love. You should not sleep when there is something that you can do to make sure that it is better for everyone around you, or for everyone that depends on the services that you render. Look, my brother was saying that it is the system, the political system has made it in such a way that we have a salarized economy. I want to also say that this has been done to an extent with the approval of the people, because I do believe that the liberty of a slave is important to the slave and not the master. The majority of the people who are complaining that Cameroon is not right today, many of them are not where change is taking place. They are not implicated politically. And I will keep saying it. Whatever their justifications are, since 1990, some people thought that because they saw electoral fraud, they retired. Their retirement has not changed anything. When they returned behind, the system that they did not want gained grounds. Whereas they were instead supposed to be enforcing their determination, like my brother is trying to say. And I appreciate him. He is in the best position to defend the institution and to make people not feel discouraged, which is good. I want to think that those that came out in the 1990s and those that followed and saw that there were difficulties with our democracy, it was a call for more determination that we can put forth for positive change. And look at it today. If we had more and more lawyers, for example, who are trained directly from the universities, you will see that people will not be tampering with the rights of individuals like that. There are subdivisions in this country that do not have a single chamber. So what do you think is happening with those people whose rights are being taken, drawn in the mouth? Even here in Douala, because of the way the system is, there are some people whose rights will be trampled upon and they don't want to take action because to them, they don't see the chances of succeeding. But if we make a good educational policy that we train our lawyers directly from the law schools, like they go spend much money out there to go and be in the law schools and come back here and they are moving as kings. If we train them here directly, we would be putting justice at the doorsteps of the people. We would have recruited Mr. Lekunze directly from one of those law schools and he will still be working. So that has not got anything with his employment, even with his status as he is now. So the problem is at the level of policy, and you can only make policy when you are implicated where action is taking place. Look at what is happening in our country today. They are only talking about tribalism, nepotism, public exams have gone up. We are facing a serious crisis in our country today. And it is also because of people who think that it is allegiance to an individual because of the privileges of the majority that they are benefiting that is important, and not love for their fellow human being, and not love for the fellow Cameroonian. They have made us, we are now dying, they are killing, Cameroonians are killing one another, and like I said, Cameroonians also take, in a majority, especially the young people, take a greater part of the blame because no interest, no action. The freedom of a slave is important to the slave and not the master. We would think that something is going wrong and we are not where change is taking place. We are not where action is being taken for those things to be corrected. We are more of a problem than those that are doing what we are complaining of. We are more of a problem.
Okay.
So when you look at the crisis today, when we started retiring politically because we saw challenges. Instead of increasing our determination in the democratic path, what was happening? The system gained ground. And as the system was gaining ground, it didn't cancel the fact that the frustrations were growing. The frustrations have grown, and now the minority has picked up guns. They have picked up guns. It is a language that a dictatorial government like that of Cameroon can also speak. So they are now fighting with the guns. But the majority of the people are now in the middle between two minorities, and they are killing them. So they're killing you because you surrendered. They're killing you because you thought that retiring was an option. They are killing you because you thought that boycott was an option. But I'm saying abstention from politics, active democratic politics is a suicide.
Okay.
That is a mistake Cameroonian people will not make. That is why I was appreciating my brother coming from Mainland, because I look forward not only to see him as an administrator say, yes sir, all is well, all it is. We will be involved in debates like this to make sure that Cameroon is properly governed in such a way that people live well, so that the private sector is well liberalized. We have a good market economy and a state that is socialist that can take care of the needs of the most vulnerable.
Thank you. Now, how do we fix this, where persons, the young people like he's calling, to believe in their capacity to make it? How do we change this?
Mr. Lo, you cannot tell me that I have been intelligent from primary school, I do well, teachers endorse me. I go to secondary school, teachers endorse me. I come to university, teachers endorse my intelligence. At least for the number of years that I've gone to primary, secondary, university, the world has attested and my results have proven that I'm intelligent. Then you take an exam for a week to prove that I'm not intelligent. That's drama. That is one of the strangest drama that has ever existed in this world. That people will take 1 week and ascertain 13 or 15 years of education. That most professors, doctors, teachers, and even lecturers have attested for years. Lekunze went to primary school. He has a record there. He went to secondary school for 7 years. He has a record. He went to the university. Professors, lecturers, and doctors attested to his intelligence. And then he goes to Enam, a weak exam. There they prove to him that he's not intelligent. It means almost 17 years of invested knowledge is proven as nothing within a week.
Because
what is in Enam?
Because they need just 10 now. They cannot take everybody.
What is in these professional institutions? Number 2, somebody writes very well and pass, and he say he fails orals. I want us to talk on these orals. What is the function of orals in our examinations? That you mean to tell me that what I wrote, I cannot explain? Or does the question that comes for orals come from the moon, and the one that comes for the written part comes from Mars? That a man is intelligent enough to write down information that can take almost about 10 pages, and he is asked orals for 15 minutes, and he fails. Intelligence put in his power within a week. for 5 papers, 6 papers, and then you go to the oral and you ask him few questions. That oral is a calculated mischief, an orchestrated agenda to handpick a modified Machiavellic system of selecting the people who, by virtue of their connections, by virtue of their investment in the exam financially, are the ones who are qualified to go. I don't see the need for any orals. And you go and find out those orals only around Irik, Enam. You won't find orals in places like Army, gendarme, Paul. What's orals? Orals where? Lekunze, are you a policeman? See,
no, he's a system man, so he can defend anything that leads to.
No, he has to defend. We are not strangers. I'm not coming from Mali. I'm not a Malian. I'm not a Burkinabe, Lekunze. I'm a Cameroonian.
And when you say there is no orals in police,
which police?
I'm tempted to say that
inspector, constable,
superintendent, and assistant superintendent. There is orals.
In what? In police?
Yes,
in
police. There is orals.
Listen, I was talking about orals here. You are telling me that a man is able to write John is going to school on the paper, and he is asked.
But for the constable, there's no orals.
Yes, for the police.
For inspector, there's no orals.
It's not a matter. Vertically,
there's
all categories C and D concourse, there are no orals.
There are no orals.
That's what you just said. That where they need to take a mass, they don't make orals.
That is why I'm saying that, Mr. Liu. What is this orals?
Yeah, but no, but my question to you is, how do we fix these things?
That's what I'm trying to fix it now. Let us cross orals.
Okay.
Let us remove orals. You cannot tell me that 74 persons will pass the written part of an exam and they need 10. Only 10 people are apt within 24 persons to pass orals.
Okay, let me take some.
They should remove that orals, man. Orals is a Machiavellic setup.
Let me take some messages, please. This one says, good evening, sir. There is merit in every concours when you prepare. Fatherism is just an added advantage, but nevertheless, meritocracy still has its place in our society. Orals is really an epidemic disease, as he rightly said. Okay. This one says, hello, good evening. I'm Florence from Yaoundé. I want to find out where the money collected in the name of bribe goes to. You say it's bribe now, so you expect the money to go to where? Private pockets, of course, or the government. Secondly, the state is aware what is being done to arrest those in charge of collecting the money. This one says, Mr. Liu, evening, please. Anyone who finds him or herself in all these big institutions merits it, because nothing goes for nothing. One man is talking about a francophone lady in. Can he also tell us how his wife went into the institution? Okay, Elvis is writing from Limbe. Good evening to you, Elvis. This one says, Mr. Chi is saying the absolute truth, because the name Lekunze is a surname that has once been stakeholder, and he was just selected by, okay, maybe it was an error. Somebody just saw the name and thought that, yeah. Okay, Soledad is writing from Yaoundé too, yeah. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. Special greetings to your rich panel. I completely share the point of view of Mr. Dieudonne Chi. It's time for the youth to get involved in the political chessboard of our country, order to retire the ruling class. Okay, this one says, I had suffered the above in 1986 after my bachelor's degree from the Lone University of Yaoundé. I wrote the following public examinations: Enam, Emia, ENS. I succeeded in all. Unfortunately, I had no godfather at orals. I was never selected. Go to the records of those who wrote, look at my marks and tell me where I went wrong. It is regrettable, okay? This one says, it is only Godfatherism that counts. Those from the South pass well because of their godfather. Konla is writing from Yaoundé. So many persons are watching from Yaoundé this evening. Fabrice Lena says, good evening, greetings to you all. It's an awesome program today. Extend my salutations to all in the studio. Okay, Fabrice, good evening to you. I've taken note. Greetings to you and the panel. Great discourse from Nijon's mentee. I agree with him that Godfatherism and merit, Godfatherism and merit coexist in Cameroon just like elsewhere. I just wonder why our youths prefer to focus more on the Godfatherism instead of merit. I think it is just an escapist mechanism for lazy people. The Godfather mentality has eaten so deep into us that we use it to water down the achievements of others instead of wasting time trying to force people to believe that all entrance exams are bought. We have the responsibility to tell the truth to our youth, which is that there is room for merit in Cameroon. I got entrance into ASMAC without paying a dime to no one. My kid bro also passed entrance into ENS with no godfather. The godfather mentality is too bad that you get an international job and your Cameroonian brother asks you, now who find you lying? I agree with the panelists who said that with good mentorship and network will make it big in life. Now, that's different from Godfatherism, and youth needs to be told. Ima Kong, watching us from the Democratic Republic of Congo, congratulations once again for what you just achieved. Good evening, Mr. Liu and everyone on the panel. Mr. Liu, I was a victim in 2014. The system and the nation has made us to know if we don't have a godfather or the so-called mentor that my brother is saying there. I was clearly informed to bring 1.2 million for me to pass into Nsah. And when I look at my mother, a woman that could not even raise 200K, should provide 1.2. I was already discouraged. Okay, Stats Art is writing from Douala. How do we turn the situation around?
Yes, Mr. Leo. To turn the situation, you cannot turn the situation around that you don't know it very well. To provide my answer to your question, I want to remind you that there is a former minister of water and energy in Cameroon who is in prison today, and his prison terms, the immediate cause came when an exam was written under his ministry and 90% of the intake came from his tribe. So one, to keep it from that area, tribalism has to cease. And to cease it, we have to make sure that there is, when we go round and round and round, the system in place has to disappear first. There must be a complete overhaul of this government in place. Because no matter, they have already killed all their consciences to the level that talks that we do here have nothing to do to them. Just take, for example, state parastatals like Sonara. Viewers are watching us. Write and also testify that there is somebody who went into CNPS from a common background. Sonara, that you went and applied and you were taken from a common background. CSPH, we can go naming and naming. We all know that it is by connection. And it is a chain, it's a block, Mr. Leo. It's a réseau, it's a network that is already so much connected that we cannot just get up one evening in one program like this to dismantle it. So the first thing is that Cameroonians need to rise. But this time I don't buy your idea where you keep bringing in politics. The problem that Cameroon has at this particular point in time is above all political parties put together. It is a collection of Cameroonians of goodwill to rise up and force this government to do what Cameroonians want them to do. And to do that, because when you keep saying that Cameroonians retired from politics, at that time, youths like us did not have the courage. Today, you know some of the youths that have decided to join the politics and today they are political prisoners. So it's a chain. It's a chain that I don't really know how we cannot provide a magic one just at a blow.
It's quite difficult. I'll come to you. Okay. Let me also satisfy them now. They was already insulting me that, Mr. Leo, why do you put the number there if you don't want to read our message? This program is so educative. Kudos to the team and the panelists. You are all making our evening meaningful. Rita Tato and Bote Emilia, writing from Moliko in Boya. This one says, good evening to all in the studio. No doom, me and debt will ever be admitted into any of higher institutions because of orals. Sorry for them. Your message is not too clear. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I am watching from Bamenda. There is hardly a place for merit in public exams nowadays. I am from ENS Bambili, and in my class we had 7 francophones out of 16. This, okay. Good evening. I am, yes, you're writing from. I just want to tell anybody who is writing, if you write anything that is insultive, I won't read it. Anything that is divisive, I won't read it. Anything that is segregative, I won't read it. We want a civilized nation, so it should start with us. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all the panelists in the house. I was one of the victims. I wrote Enam and I succeeded, but I didn't have a godfather to help me. Gerard, writing from the United Arab Emirates. Good evening to you, Gerard. Yes. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Is Abraham, writing from Swa. As for me, I see that those who believe that public exams such as Enam, ENS are not Godfatherism oriented should go for more research, because those I know so far are those who have spent or have someone who helped them. And please let the question asked of many sitting in, many passing, and just few chosen should be answered. Okay? Yes. I don't know what I should ask the director of Enam. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I know someone who wanted to be saving in the administration, and so he had to write the police concours, but before he wrote the exam, he had to bribe, and he still was not able to make it. The impossible is not in Cameroon. T-Boy is writing from Yaoundé. Yes, you had something to say.
Okay, Mr. Leo, thank you very much once more. You know, many of us Cameroonians, we like getting what is going to be sweet in our ears than getting the truth. My brother, Mr. Ndiwum, he came up with many examples. He have cited many examples, like a pastor giving scriptures in the church. And I was tempted to believe all the examples, many of them. I was really tempted because I could not prove him wrong. But when he accused me that my father is a mayor, that is when I started looking at those examples he gave at the point he was giving. Now, if my brother is sitting here and he is honest to himself, we are sitting here to say that there is no place for merit in Cameroon.
We did not say so.
You say, my brother,
5% exists for merit.
I'm coming. If you are telling Cameroonians that there is no merit in Cameroon, I'm saying that maybe we are miseducating Cameroonians. And to solve this issue, Mr. Ndiwum has given many examples. He met with somebody who went to Nsah, said he bribed for 3 million. He said there is a market for, if you want to go to Enam, you want to go to Emir, there is a market where you can buy.
Yes.
Now, if you want to solve this problem, I'm going to advise that maybe we bring these people to book. When you say somebody gave 3 million, bring the person. Whom do you give the 3 million to? We face the person, and at the end of it, we are going to see that if we start like this, at the end of it, we are not going to have this type of issues.
There's 10 ministers in Konenge. Have not stopped other ministers from stealing.
No, we are talking. Don't derail from the topic, sir. Don't derail from the topic. I am saying that you that say there is a market, we take you, you show the market, you show the people they are buying from. Then, at the end of it, if we can identify about 100 people, at least some people will shy away from it. And at the end, we are going to have merits. And no matter the number of students that go in for this exam, there must be a mechanism that they will use in selecting successful candidates. How many Cameroonians do we have? How many go in for this exam? Do you think that they cannot bring a mechanism to select the students?
Tell us now, Mr. Lekunze.
No, it's not a matter of, we need to be very, very objective as we are talking.
We should not accuse people there are no merit.
Educate Cameroonians so that they should know the mechanism, so that when they fall victim, they don't cry.
Please,
so that they should not be biased.
I am the moderator here. I'm the one asking the questions. Have you landed?
I'm saying that there is no amount, I will land by saying that there is no amount of talking that will solve a problem that requires working action.
Okay.
There is no amount of talking.
Mr. Chi, very briefly, because we have to move into our second topic for tonight, what should be done to make sure that people see more merit in what they do and believe that through their merits they can achieve in Cameroon?
Well, within very, very constrained limits, Cameroonians should keep working hard, you know, in their different domains. But like I said, the two coexist. Here, like anywhere else in the world. And well, since we are limited to the public sector, I want to also tell you that it exists even in the private sector.
Okay.
Even you go down to the markets or whatsoever, it exists. Yes. But, well, we are saying that if the problem is which one is more visible, is more, perceived. What determines it is the governance of the country. And we are saying that if the Godfatherism is more, as the Godfatherism seems to be more perceived, it is not helping Cameroon move forward. So we need a system where Cameroon is properly governed in such a way that people will hardly pay much attention to this notion of Godfatherism, where people will have so many means to take, so many opportunities to take care of their needs, and that will come through proper governance. And the SDF stands for a federal system of government, and that federal system of government will not come without the implication of the people. And when you hear my brother saying that everything is not politics, well, I don't know what he called politics, but it's important. It's important for our viewers to know that politics, simply speaking, is the use of power to attain objectives. And each and everybody on the daily basis uses some sort of power to attain one objective or the other. Whether it is willpower, whether it is physical power, whether it is economic power, whether it's intellectual power, we all use power to attain objectives. So, at the level of the state, within the very limited context, we talk about party politics, and these are the mechanisms that have been put in place by our constitution to orientate our demands, to make sure that we can participate in making reforms. However, whether you talk public manifestations or the people rising, people do their revolution in function with their consciousness. The Cameroonian people need to gain political consciousness, have political pedagogy, to understand that in the fight for democracy, when obstacles come, we increase determination. We don't retire. And going in for elections massively, and as I'm telling the young people today, register massively. We need an electoral register of at least 15 million Cameroonians, because we can. You cannot have a country where less than 3 million people are voting, but a majority are complaining about everything, the way things are done. On what basis are they complaining? Politically, on what basis are they complaining? What standpoint? You don't vote, you don't decide who does anything, but you are there to complain. And many of them will tell you the fallacy of, we don't do politics, but they have the monopoly to complain. My brother here is very brilliant. They are doing very good analysis. Apostle is doing very good analysis. Well, he's a man of God. And others, they do very brilliant analysis. But you do analysis and end here to tell us that you know one or two things that can be done to solve the problems of Cameroon, but you are in one way or the other a collabo to the misery of Cameroonians by refusing to take action. When you finish sensitizing the people, orientate them and say, okay, we cannot just preach without action. Let us get to the field and do work. Okay. And registering does not stop people from using their democratic right to demonstrate and mount pressure or whatsoever. But any revolution is done as a function of the consciousness of the people. When the people get politically conscious and understand that the struggle for a true federal Cameroon to be practice on the field will not go through on tribal lines. I think that we would have got it right, and the Social Democratic Front is working on that, and all the youths are welcome.
Okay. Hello, panel. Mr. Kum, the problem is deeper than that. It begins with parents having to bribe principals to have their children in our secondary schools. That is where it starts now. That is where we started.
It's everywhere now, sir.
Sadly, my media prime and panelists have spoken until there is no change. It's worse in our universities, where lecturers demand money from male students and sex from the females to give them past marks. Merit has its place at a very small proportion, but corruption is in every sector in Cameroon. Stephen Mwambo is writing from Boya. Good evening to you, my brother. Glad to read from you this evening. Hello, Mr. Leo. Merit in Cameroon is of 15%. Godfather lines are 85%. We do not cancel the fact that we have merit. Before the merit you get to write and set Bambili entrance under electricity. You are writing mathematics and applied. Go check the syllabus or program of work for technical students. You will understand that the Nsah is not even for technical students, but we are training technical teachers, okay? You, Celestine, is writing from Bomenda. Okay? Thank you, you, Celestine. The messages come a lot. It's difficult to read them. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Greetings to all in the studio from Mr. Mbong in Boya. Mr. Liu, truth be told, intelligence merit into our public school is still a nightmare. I'm a big-time victim in 1999 when, after my orals at the Officier de Police concours, one of the panelists told me I performed with one of the best scores, but to my greatest shock, my name did not appear on the list. I think qualified men of God like Apostle Ambe should be appointed to run these schools like Konak. Okay, Apostle Ambe, I hope you will help us in that domain. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Despite Godfatherism, I encourage all seeking the public entrance exams to prepare well and trust God for success. Ma Mercy is writing from Acha. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thanks for this program. The worst is that most of these people collect money from people without putting them in these schools, and you cannot do anything about it because they know it is illegal to bribe. A lot of scam going on. Brice is also writing from Yaoundé. Also tell the Enam guy to enjoy his long struggle. Okay, now he can be a Republican. I wish we could hear him some years before he got into Enam. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening. To you guys in the studio. We, especially the Anglophones, lack a medium of sensitization of public exams in Cameroon. That's where to get the right information. The common exams we know is ENS and Nsah. Alex is writing from Douala. In the days Cameroon was still good, we used to write one concours and first list, second and third were recruited from the same concours, especially military concours. Thank you, Mr. Liu. It's Afoni writing from Kumbo. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, we are moving straight to our second topic for tonight, which has to do with local government and political transition in Cameroon. What are the stakes? Apostle Ambe, you are also very observant, watching what is happening. We're talking about political transition, local governance, and the stakes. What are the stakes today?
Well, as I'm sure every Cameroonian watching this program will understand that most Cameroonians have given up when it comes to political transition in Cameroon.
Okay.
But considering the situations on ground right now, I'm sure the stakes are very high. People are very expectant to see a change, and many people are putting interest into a drastic change because the previous regime has not been the best. You explained that transition in a nation where people have been maintained in the same offices for several years. Somebody leaves the Ministry of Sports, culture, he goes to the Ministry of Sports. Somebody leaves the Ministry of Sports and goes to the Ministry of Environment. It is a rotation. So you sometimes you are like an expectant chick waiting for crumbs to fall, and then unfortunately the mother hen and the cocks, they eat almost everything around you. You get frustrated. Cameroonians have been anticipating for a very long time to see a change in governance, but unfortunately it looks like it rotates within a particular group of people. Every year we have the same persons but different offices. Names only change, names remain the same but offices change, and this is very, very dangerous. It will also be very clear for Cameroonians to understand that it's only going to take a political revolution and a change for actual change to take place. We see a lot of young people who have been around in different political parties anticipating for change, but to be very sincere, they have waited until their desires have died. If you ask most Cameroonian youths right now, they've given up because it looks like leadership belongs to the aged, and it looks like you must attain a particular age in this system of government before you are given the responsibility to rule or to manage responsibilities.
Yeah, but the age factor, is this not also a factor, a pointer to the fact that it's time for transition? Because at the point in time...
Mr. Leo, this age factor has been for a very long time. This age factor did not start today. It's been for a very long time. The truth is, we expected persons to have gone for retirement or gone on retirement, but there's no retirement for some particular persons in this country. When you hear somebody is first of all a minister of state before a minister, it is in Cameroon I'm getting those offices. In other words, you are an everlasting minister. It is only that separated from office. It means the tenets that respect employment and the labor code are no longer put in place, which means the age for retirement is no longer put in view. 55 years, 60 years is not the subject on ground. It is the fact that you are occupying a particular office and you belong to a particular political party. That anxiety and even the passion anymore to go. Like you said, you went for ENS. The crowd that was there, the passion died. And I'm sorry, your desire died. Cameroonian youths have waited for this transition completely for many years, and automatically they are getting frustrated. It's like you keep anticipating and then you are never reaching the target. So I'm very, very sure we have just concluded in our hearts, some of us, that some people will die. That's when there will be change. And it's so bad. It's so bad. Okay. I mean, extremely bad to the extent that we should be dreaming of people's death before we see changes.
Let me get to the politician who is with us this evening. Political transition, local government. What are the stakes? Are we seeing political parties also warming up, changing strategy because, whether we like it or not, there's going to be a transition? The President of the Republic himself reminded the youths about this last year.
Definitely, Mr. Leo, the SDF is at work. Like I said, the stakes are high, and under the guidance of the National Chairman, His Excellency Ndiwum Emmanuel, we are constantly working to have our say in line with the people's interest as far as the transition is concerned. That said, you know, we are witnessing the second transition, the third transition. The second transition since the reunification of Cameroon. The first transition of 1982 was done within a unique party context, where the space to anticipate preparing a transition was very limited. It took people by surprise, and people were like, what was going to happen after President Ahmadu Ahidjo decided to resign and give power to Paul Biya and all that? So one big lesson we learned from that is that when a transition takes the people unaware, when they are not prepared, taking into consideration the stakes to embrace it, oftentimes it doesn't work for the interest of the people, but probably for the interest of the minority that are architects of that transition. Now, today the political landscape is not the same like it was in 1982. We have about 360 councillors, thousands of positions for municipal councillors, hundreds of positions for regional councillors, 180 seats in the National Assembly. So you see that the institutional mechanism for a political transition is not the same like it was in 1982. So Cameroonians should take advantage of this. They should understand that to build the house, you must put the foundation and make it solid. Let especially the young people take interest in these positions, the councils, the regional councils, and the National Assembly, and make sure that they position themselves in favor of the new republic that is coming, which is the Federal Republic of Cameroon that the SDF is working for. Cameroonians should not sit and be expecting change. I keep saying it. No interest, no action. Those that need change should work for change. The 1789 revolution that you people saw in France was masterminded and carried forward by people who actually needed the change that came through that revolution. So when you look at the National Assembly, Mr. Leo, and you see a National Assembly that looks like a bourgeoisie club, where you have a majority of very rich people, how do you expect something very, a major change to come out from such a National Assembly? If politics is a game of number, in Cameroon we have a majority of the people in Cameroon are people like me who are so-called poor people, but the majority is not within the institutions. They don't find themselves where decisions are taken. So you think that goats that eat grass can sit somewhere and talk very well in the interest of lions that eat only flesh? So how does it work? One thing Cameroonians should understand is that we are privileged today to anticipate the transition, to see the imminence of the transition coming. So we have to be prepared. It's not like in 1982 where people got up in the morning, in 1 November 4th morning, and they heard news on radio, and people are seeing there are so many indices. Brilliant analysts like those that we have here are talking a lot of things and all that.
How do we lay this foundation?
Pardon?
How do we lay the foundation?
Like I said, laying the foundation is by getting the Cameroonian people implicated politically. Between now and 2023, we should have an electoral register of at least 15 million people. Between now and 2023, a majority of the young people should have made the decision to go in for council, go in for regional council, look at means to get into parliament, and the SDF is ready to accompany them in that light to go and make the Federal Republic, which we want, a political reality that will be properly felt in Cameroon. Also, the people should understand that each time you bring up something different, each time you are the holder of a project that you are putting up, you should expect challenges. Okay. Because many people in Cameroon think that because you want to do something good, you maybe challenges are not supposed to come, or challenges are extraordinary. Okay. We expect challenges. Each time you want to carry out a major positive reform, you should expect challenges, and challenges will permit you to refine it, to make it sharper, to prove its relevance. That is what we, the young people of Cameroon, we are supposed to be doing. And then when I come back now, I will also tell you about the responsibility of President Paul Biya, who is a beneficiary of the special grace of God. Thank you.
Okay. Should we see the political parties themselves preparing this foundation he's talking about? Because people have always longed to see them come together. Do you have the impression that they're preparing themselves for a possible transition? Because
Mr. Leo, I have told you long ago, there is no political party in Cameroon. All these associations shouting, making noise, they are the ones that have put Cameroon under a permanent spell. I want to tell you that in 1990, when I was about 11 years, Ndiwum fully launched the SDF. People saw in this SDF the light that has come to shine on the people of Cameroon. Later on, this association moved on to a certain time, and the Cameroonians discovered that they were fooled by this association. You can see that they kept reducing drastically in the National Assembly. They have 5 dancers in that National Assembly today. And if today SDF is still talking, I can congratulate my brother as a person, but not the SDF he's talking about.
I will not go talking about other little associations. MRC came up, fooled Cameroonians that they were the Messi in the political landscape in Cameroon. Fooled many youths who are in prison today, and their leader is enjoying his ogono soup in his house. These boys are languishing in Konengi because they bought an illusion that they did not take time to evaluate the weight of that illusion. That is to say, only nature can save Cameroon as of now. If we were to entrust Cameroon once more into the hands of these crooked politicians who come out today, they are unable to talk within themselves, Mr. Kum, and you are talking about a political association taking Cameroon into daylight. No, it is not possible. I think it is time for Cameroonians to denounce such bad politics. It is bad politics that has killed Cameroon. It is bad politics that keep Cameroon. You see, what he keeps talking about youth. Youths are so much very interested in Cameroon. But the political platform in Cameroon does not permit youth. It's a no-go area for the youth.
What
Why?
are you saying? Are you saying that if Cameroon were to be given to you as a youth to lead, the Cameroonians should not hope in you?
Who will give it to me? These are things that should be taken, not given.
So why don't you take
Power is supposed to be taken.
Why don't you mobilize to take it?
Look, we have a country where the youths are on permanent retirement and the old are in the active service.
So you have retired?
Where I am saying that we are saying that we are on obligatory retirement, not because we want it, but because circumstances force us to do so. I would have loved to see my brother, even myself, take over a council. How do I take over a council where I know very well that when I go and put my candidature, I think Apostle Ambe can testify. When they will ask where I come from and to which party I belong, they will reject it. How do I take over? How do I take over a council wherein I know very well that the blockages I'm going to meet are going to be more difficult than the task that will be given to me, even right if I get you in that office.
You know, Honorable Fritz Etoke?
Yes.
I'm sure he's your age. You know Honorable Malumba of Boya?
He's in which party, Mr. Leo?
No, CPDM. No, you said there's a blockade. Please, I want the Honorable...
Those are political compensations
I want to
given in a particular...
Because if listening to you here today would mean that no young person has any possibility of succeeding anywhere. But I'm quoting. I know
in politics we are talking in the political sphere.
Do you know the mayor? Do you know the mayor of Kumba 1? Kumba 1 is a very young guy.
Yes. Which party?
CPDM, but they just took over. They just took over from the SDF, and all the guys who were the mayors in Kumba of the SDF. They were very young guys. Also,
Mr. Leo,
please.
They used the war in the northwest and southwest to take over from the SDF.
So SDF was only founded in northwest and southwest.
Excuse me,
God.
please.
It was another party.
Please. I'm saying that the mayors in Kumba, the SDF mayors, were very young guys.
Yes.
Because I've cited examples. You say they are in the CPDM, but in the SDF, I know very young guys who were mayors in Kumba, and I'm sure you know some of them in Bamenda.
Even in Afrawa, we had a young mayor like that in Afrawa.
In Menchu.
Leo, you are taking me the microphone. I did not learn.
You've spoken for more than 5 minutes, yeah?
Okay. I hope you will be coming back so that I should learn again.
No, there's still time. You still have to come and even him. Yes, Apostle Ambe. We are talking about transition. How do we prepare for a transition, especially from the political perspective? Because, yeah, but even if nature gives you, you will still have to operate within a political structure. How do you run a country without politics? Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Leo. You see, when it comes to transition, like I said earlier, the political landscape of Cameroon has given us the impression that it's very difficult for some next generation to take power. You see, Daniel ruled in Babylon for 4 generations, and that's what we are facing right here. We have had 4 republics under one person. Why France is having the full republic right now, but we have had 4 different republics under an individual. That tells you that the anticipation, the desire of the youth taking over responsibility has died. We are expecting some miracles because in a hospital, when the case is beyond medical control, the doctor will say it will take a miracle. What we are expecting right now in Cameroon is that medical case that has no diagnosis. As a matter of fact, all the machines are packed up to diagnose what is happening in Cameroon. So we, the doctors of this particular situation, we are saying that it will take a miracle. Why do I say so? Coming from a political point of view, the political parties were supposed to be wings upon which we will ride to take this political transition, they all have compromised. And when political parties upon whom the people leaned for political transition compromise, it kills the very vision and the hope of the masses. We were looking at SDF in the 90s as the hope that will carry us to bring a change in Cameroon. The things that have happened within the SDF from the time to now tells us that the SDF is only dwindling and going down. The MRC came up. Expectantly, we said, okay, another Messiah has been raised. Let us hang upon the wings of the MRC. You see what's happening with MRC? The MRC is gradually going down also. Tell me any political party in this country right now.
Senior Barrister Ashu's party is there.
Oh. The Reforms Party.
Yes.
The Reform Party.
Yeah, he says he's the next president.
That is,
Can't you also trust?
I will never stop him from expressing his desires. It is his basic right and fundamental right as a citizen. But that doesn't move me. Now, MRC came, we were counting on MRC as the wing on which we are going to write to take over power. MRC also, now tell me any political party in Cameroon that is very credible. The credibility of a political party is the control of parliamentary seats, senatorial offices, councils, as well as municipalities. SDF has how many municipalities amongst the municipalities in Cameroon? How many parliamentary seats? How many seats as senators? That tomorrow we can say, okay, by virtue of their respective places in the parliament or this municipality, they can shout. The first opposition party in the National Assembly with 16 seats is UNDP, and their chairman is a minister in the government. The chairman of that political party that happens to be the one opposition. Mr. Leo, let me learn now. Okay. We are talking from a political point of view. Okay. I'm talking because normally if we don't do transition through political electoral platforms, we cannot do it again, except we want to ignite an insurrection in the country where the poor rise against.
Why don't you think that there could still be a transition from within the CPDM?
A transition from within the CPDM?
Yes.
There are
persons who are telling us that they are the progressive wing.
Mr. Leo, the only person I have heard spoken about progressive wing in CPDM is one man. And he's on the front page of the paper that they are planning to arrest him. The Guardian Post carried it in that this man is supposed to be arrested for creating another wing within the CPDM. Let's not get into that. That's party politics. I'm talking about political parties, because if we don't have political parties through which we can stand to face the government in question, then I think the only way out is through an insurrection, and nobody can preach that one here. Nobody can preach insurrection here. Nobody can preach violence here. We don't have a credible political party in this country that we can lean on to drive us to this change. So there is practically going to take a miracle. I've seen nations where almost every method put in place failed. God himself had to raise a leader. A case is like that of Ambe in Ethiopia. He emerged from nowhere and God had to make him become a leader. So let us just pray that God will do a miracle in Cameroon, because counting on political parties, I can tell you, we will flop.
Mr. Liu, I love the points raised by the SDF guy. Transition will come and come soonest, but of the opinion that it will come as a surprise like in 1982. Sadly, only the big guns who have kept on rotating post since 1982 are preparing for this change. We have heard serious threats from the Grand North. We have heard the West say it's their time. We have heard Betty saying they must remain in power after Biya. But in all this, the youth, opposition, political parties, civil society leaders are all making noise and fighting among themselves, while the CPDM is positioning herself to still remain in power. Youth needs to get to action. Stephen Mwambo, still writing from Boya, Mr. Leo, allow the man of God to tell us the truth. Political parties are like charismatic church movements, and we need God to see us through. Okay, they are talking about man of God is Apostle Ambe, but allow him to talk more. He spoke to the end. Mr. Leo, government delegate came up in council only when SDF took almost all the councils in Cameroon, and the head of state knew that he might lose some powers in place. He came up with government delegates to control councillors in Cameroon. Jean is writing from Equatorial Guinea. Good evening. Okay. Jean, we're glad to read from you. This one says, I'm not happy with the party in Cameroon. Why all Cameroonians are full? We need change. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum and the crew. There is no merit in Cameroon. May it existed during the time of President Ahijo. If there was merit in public exams, I could have been a colonel in the gendarmerie today. Mr. Kum, below was my performance in the recruitment exams. 100 meters race, first out of 5 in my group. 2,500 meters, I came out 3rd out of 70, etc. The exam was to be released. Someone called me and told me I was top in the list and that I should send 600,000 francs for my name to feature in the final list. I didn't send the money, and that's why I was not taken. My friends who arrived 65th position in the recruitment test made it in the exam. Some didn't even compile documents, as we did talk less of taking part in the recruitment test, but they were taken. Okay? You were itchy to come in here about what some of the panelists raised.
Well, I want to thank Mr. Emmanuel and Apostle for the criticisms that they have raised. And, calling the name of the SDF repeatedly and saying what they think are shortcomings, and considering the fact that the SDF is not made just of angels, we probably have made some mistakes over the years. And my mentor, the national chairman, leading by example, convened a press conference after the 2018 presidential elections, and that the object of that press conference was to tell the Cameroonian people that we are sorry for whatever shortcomings that may have happened along the way. Some were not intentional, some may have been intentional, but what I want to also reassure Cameroonians after the forgiveness appeal of the Social Democratic Front is that the candle that was lit in 1990 has not gone off. And if I want to tell Cameroonians today is that they should follow the SDF and let us move forward with the generational transition, and of course the transition into an effective federal republic, is because the national chairman started the struggle for multi-party politics and democracy in Cameroon as a young man. And he led that struggle at the expense of his own life. He even received a bullet for that struggle, put under house arrest. He was always at the forefront. The national chairman did not wait to go on retirement after 60-something years and came up to think that managing state affairs has become a retirement issue and all that. He had everything to stake, and he is a model for the young Cameroonians who want to come into politics and benefit from his mentorship like I am doing. That within the SDF there are so many openings that we can use and make sure that we have our say with respect to this political transition. So, dear brothers, I want to thank you, and those that are watching us, keep your positive criticisms coming as far as the SDF is concerned. Keep your criticisms coming. We need them more than ever before with respect to this, at this particular point in time. And we will be considering them and working constructively to make sure that this transition that is coming the SDF would have its say. And I want to also make Cameroonians understand that the transition will not be an event. The transition is not just an event. The transition is an event and a process, which I hope the process should be shorter. But the length of time that the process will take will depend on the determination of Cameroonians on how well they are engaged into active politics. Meanwhile, I want to also say that when you talk about 100 from 180 from 43 seats to 18 to this number of seats to this, the SDF has been through thick and thin. We have our own difficulties. We have struggled very hard. We are facing a lot of difficulties. But that notwithstanding, since we are a political party that we assume our responsibility, our difficulty has only multiplied our determination. Even those of us that are still there today, those difficulties only sharpen our belief in the vision of social justice, equal opportunity, and a federal republic for Cameroon that the SDF has stood for. And in the midst of these difficulties, we have had ups and downs. And it is the life of any young man. I don't know whether there is anybody here who grew up and became a young man without creeping, or creeped without falling, or is still moving now and cannot fall. We have had these ups and downs. We have learned a lot of lessons, and we are moving forward. And to say that determination, the obstacles that we face should rather sharpen our determination. To say that you will go and your list will not be taken and this, that, I cannot refuse that. Such challenges are there, and even more. There are so many realities that the young people will know by getting actively involved in politics that even your intellectual capacity cannot give you. That is why I keep telling young people that even if your intellectual capacity cannot tell you, the management of a country, many people think it's just a simple affair, you know, I got a PhD, I got a degree and all that. There is just much more into that. Okay. There is just much more into that. We have faced so many challenges which we will not have the time to mention here, but those challenges only ignite our determination. And I also want to say that sterile criticism will not take us forward. Criticizing for its own sake, criticizing and not wanting to take action, criticizing and making people feel that hope is lost will not take us anywhere. And finally, we also know that God has the final say. I'm somebody that I believe very much in God, and I know that He has a plan for this nation. But what is most important for me is to play my own role and call on Cameroonians to play their role too, while waiting for God to assist us.
You say transition will come naturally, but it could. I think that if you look at what is happening within the CPDM party, the ruling class, when you hear that there is this camp trying to position itself, we hear persons mobilizing for Frank Biya to take power, you have persons mobilizing for other persons. We hear very little about what is happening in the opposition camp. Chi is telling us that the SDF is working towards that. But how do we ensure that we have a smooth transition? Because there is also that fear that it may not be as smooth as it took place in 1982.
Yeah, your fear is as good as mine. I want to tell you that if there is one thing we must give credibility to CPDM, it has been their ability to manage the differences within the party, even if it meant using the iron. There is a mayor of Yaoundé 6, if I'm not mistaken, who dared, I think that was 2018, to say that he wanted to put his candidature against his master, Mr. Biya. And you know what happened with him? Finally, he's no longer in that party. He went and formed his own. There is MRC that came up, like Apostle said, and we thought that they were the drivers to drive us to the promised land. You saw what happened. Mr. Njamin came out, went to form his own MAPA. This is, why am I giving these examples? It is to tell you, Mr. Leo, that I subscribe to what Apostle Ambe said a while ago, that sometimes God can look onto the suffering of a nation and decide to spring a leader from somewhere that nobody was expecting. Because if we have, Cameroonians have been so patient and have given their trust into the hands of the politicians
that have failed them woefully in return. And I am not thinking that if they failed that time, when there was still some kind of calm atmosphere, and now that the atmosphere is getting more tenser, that they will be able to do it. And wait, Mr. Leo, the worst one that makes us to be so doubtful is the contribution of youths who have sold their brains into the old ones in the office. Because the role that the youths are playing today is more dangerous in the game of transition than the role that the old people sitting in the offices have already played. Why do I say so? How do you explain the fact that a youth knows that my future has been mortgaged by a group of minority seated somewhere, and then this minority pays you 2,000 francs to go to the street and then wear a particular regalia, singing songs, knowing that when I get back home, I'll be dying of hunger. I don't have a job. That person who stopped me from getting a job is giving me 2,000 francs to buy bread and sardine, eat only during the day. And then at the night, I am dying of hunger.
Yeah, but the issue is...
It shows that even youth themselves, Mr. Leo, they have not pruned themselves towards this transition that we are talking.
Yeah, but the essence of this program is for you to use this platform to teach them, and not because there you are discouraging them. We are talking about the lack of political education. This platform is there for the political education that it might not have worked in times past, but there's still hope. Are you saying that Mr. Chi here is not doing his job? Is he not young?
Mr. Leo.
Yeah, he's doing the political education that you are supposed to be doing also.
I am not, Mr. Leo, I'm not a politician. You will not call me to come and do campaign.
The civil society has a stake. The civil society has a stake in the construction of this nation.
Yes.
I'm
standing on a neutral ground. That is why I'm saying what I'm saying.
I am a journalist. I have a responsibility to the construction of this nation.
All of us, Mr. Leo.
So why do you say?
All of us.
Yeah, Apostle.
But then, in doing it, it does not mean that we will not say what we are seeing wrong because we are building. It is only from that truth that we should know how to go about it.
Okay, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, as we speak, do you, because we're ending, we have just 5 minutes and he would need to come in. Are we saying that everybody should go to church and start praying? Because you say it's God that will help us start fasting. Maybe like Esther did in the book of Esther.
No, Mr. Leo, I'm not saying so. The truth is, we most of the times criticize bad leadership. But that bad leadership is the making of the people who are crying. It's the making of the people. For instance, if I'm in a political party, I have the capacity to give good governance, and somebody comes in with money that they know is a dons. They will collect that money and give him leadership and put me aside who has the ability to lead. So if there are bad leaders in the society, we the people created those leaders. If we have monsters as leaders, monsters did not come from space. We produced those monsters. In the womb, people will take bread for 2000s and put people in power, not knowing that you are eating a meal for a day to trade your destiny for the next 7 years. You are taking a plate of food to trade the generation you are under for the next 10 years. If at all, we as the people who claim to want this transition, we don't take up responsibility to make sure that our appetite, temporal appetite, it is closed for the future of the nation, then we are going nowhere. You see, youths who happen to criticize this government are the same youths that collect loaves of bread, box of sardines or tin can of sardine, and then 5,000, 3,000 francs in their pocket, wearing on t-shirts to go and vote the same people, not knowing that a meal for a day is trading your destiny for the next 7 years. Now, the question I want to ask, why must it be that only those who have money succeed in politics? It looks like the people who are competent and they are poor, they are not qualified, because politics is for the rich. It's not for the poor.
Okay, we're going back to our first topic.
The poor man has no say in the society, even if he is competent, even if he is intelligent. Who in Cameroon doesn't know that we have been sitting on this platform, we have what it takes to handle some things in this country. But because we are not probably into some political party or we are not giving some free will donations in the society, we are not considered as people who can handle responsibilities in this country. Who in this nation or in this continent doesn't know that I can handle some offices in this country? This one is not pride. Let me not brag about it. It's just to let you understand that we are the people we are the ones putting the bad leaders in power. So we should stop complaining. We should stop crying. Because if at all we really need change, we are going to withhold our appetite temporarily to secure it forever. This partial appetite or temporal appetite satisfaction is trading our destiny for the next 7 to 8 years.
Yeah, but there is also this notion, almost everybody has given up with as far as the ballot box is concerned. We are talking about transition. Are you still holding on to that? Because he says people should go and register.
Mr. Leo, holding on to the ballot box in this country or in this continent, Africa as a whole, and especially to French former colonies.
Okay, Mr. You have two minutes to end.
Very rapidly, I want to tell the Cameroonian people that the CPDM is going through a process of political reproduction, but that political reproduction is most likely to be attractive but not useful. Just like when President Biya came up in 1982 and people saw how he was handsome and he was a young man and people thought that something new has come. But we have discovered that things have gone worse and worse. Finally, I want to thank my co-panelists for orientating the young people that the true revolution that has to come for the so-called poor man in Cameroon starts by the so-called poor man himself, by valorizing your own self. When you talk about merit, also merit in politics will also be looking at merit in your brother beyond his financial resources. Because the person that you are looking at because of the money he has is only manipulating you to get richer and richer, while you get poorer and poorer with your generations to come. So let the so-called poor people get actively engaged, but also valorize themselves and make sure that they come up into activity and manage
in their own political party. Those who occupy seats of responsibility are the ones who have means. Even the poor, competent young men in your political party do not have a say because they cannot buy the electorates. So we should stop all this drama on television.
Please, sir. We are saying that those please.
As in occupying a seat, because there is an election, there is a politics within a political party, and there is a politics against another political party. The worst politics is the politics within the political party. There are people who are committed in political parties. They have no opportunity to see the green light because some man is in that party that is financially buoyant than them.
Have you attended any of their Congress, SDF Congress?
Attended any of SDF Congress?
Yes,
I've not attended.
When they elect their officials.
I've not attended.
I've had that opportunity of staying a week. I think it's transparent to some extent. I've lived it. I'm not saying what I hear. I've lived it.
Mr. Leo,
yes.
I have sat in the midst of these political parties.
No, Mr. Apostle, can I answer you?
I
am saying that the problems that affect the political scene.
You know what is killing us?
The problem that affects the political
scene. Cameroonians, listen to me. Cameroonians, listen to me. There is no truth anywhere. I mean, nowhere. The level of lies. We are sitting on lies in this country.
That truth is not even in you.
We are trying to.
That truth is not even in you.
No. The lies
in you. You are lying.
Deception in this country.
You are telling a lie. That truth is not in you, Mr. Apostle.
Lies.
Mr. Apostle, you are lying.
You are drinking those political parties. You cannot.
Mr. Apostle, you are lying.
Lies telling.
Mr. Apostle, you are lying. You came to campaign for your
lies.
You came to campaign for your appointment. You are the one that is lying now.
Me.
That truth is not even in you.
Campaign for your appointment.
Yeah, the truth is not in you.
Which appointment?
So no, I have to tell you, the truth is neither in you. You have no monopoly of the truth, sir. Yes, sir. You have no monopoly.
I don't need any political party.
There is no problem. You are just campaigning for your appointment here, and everybody saw you and heard you. You have no monopoly of that truth. Also, that truth is not in you. So I want to tell Cameroonian people that the problems that are affecting the Cameroonians, yes, I will tell you, because you don't have the monopoly of the truth as well. Don't think that all what you're saying is right. I want to tell the Cameroonian people that the problems that are affecting the political scene in Cameroon are also within the SDF. We are not saying that the SDF is totally perfect. But I have told you that the SDF has more and more avenues, and what is more important is our determination. I am in the SDF and I am handling a position of responsibility. It may not be as big as people may see it, but by the grace of God, I'm going to rise up, and I have to maintain this determination. Amen. And the right mechanism, when the right time will come, I'm going to get where nobody has ever thought I could be. Okay. But that does not mean I should get discouraged. Okay. So don't come and give sterile criticism here and make people feel that there is nowhere to go. You are sending them to suicide. Finally, Cameroonians should know that change in Cameroon is not limited only to political parties. We political parties, we are only hunting dogs. If you can choose between 2 political parties, you can choose between 300. After all, we have 300 political parties in Cameroon, but you find only about 10 of them in the field. So Cameroonians should get massively involved. And the day of elections, if you have 90 political parties, I will give you the reason why in that 90 political parties, you should vote for the candidates of the SDF.
Okay.
Hello, please. Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. I want to tell my brother Chi that it is not by shouting that you make SDF to resurrect, because SDF long died.
Is that what you wanted to say?
Yes, I don't think this noise is not. This
right to speak, Mr. Leo.
No,
you are the moderator. Leave people to talk to. That man is shouting here. This topic.
No, Mr. Leo,
you not stop that man. Stop that man.
Apostle,
stop that man.
Please. Excuse me. No, Mr. Chi, please. Apostle, yes, I'm the moderator. I had 10 minutes on my clock there. I knew how many minutes you were. He had 2 minutes to talk, and while he was talking, you punctured what he was talking.
Who punctured?
No, you punctured what he was saying. No, you punctured it.
You have monopoly of truth.
He was the one that intervened what I was saying.
No,
Mr. Leo, I will not take it. I will not. Everybody has hot temper too. Master, when I leave that thing with the platform. Now what's that? Everybody be hot. What is this?
Apostle.
No, I won't take it. Mr. I will not take it.
Apostle.
I will not take it.
No, Apostle, calm down. I'm saying that. Apostle. No, Apostle.
I'm hot too.
I'm saying that.
Everybody has that thing that is hot in them.
Apostle, I was saying that I had 10 minutes on my clock there. You spoke. I started with him. You spoke. And he had 2 minutes. While he was talking, you punctured. I allowed you to puncture this. He is concluding, and you say I allow him to talk. I estimated the time you got into this thing, and I'm allowing him to conclude. Everybody that is speaking, I time it. So he says he's asking for 1 second. The time is finished, and I am saying he's beyond the 1 second, and you say I should allow him to speak. Finally, you are the moderator now.
No, I'm
speak.
not the moderator.
Speak now, because I'm timing everybody there.
I'm not speaking me. I'm not speaking. Let that man speak. Since he knows how to shout, let him shout. He's the only one that knows how to shout. Ndiwum, don't speak again. I'll moderator you. You should not speak again. Sam, the one that moderator you to continue. I'll moderator you to stop. Don't speak to again.
Okay. All the days are very good. Very difficult one today.
So you are not talking?
No, Mr. Chi, please.
All right. No, because if they don't want to talk, I will talk.
No.
People want to listen.
No, Mr. Chi.
President Paul Biya,
Mr. Chi, please.
No.
Thank you.
Use the grace of God upon your life. Put back this country to rails. Call a true dialogue. Put in place a transition government, President Paul Biya. That is the use of the grace of God for your life.
Mr. Chi, please. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. I know it's been a hard one, but the caliber of the person that you are, I know you are a shock absorber. So just absorb it.
Apostle, thank you for coming.
It's been great. I'm never like this. Mr. Chi. When I meet people who trigger me,
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope to be here again, especially with the Apostle on panel.
Thank you.
Mr. Leo, thank you very much. Thank you.
The Cameroonians, I hope to be here the next time. With this caliber of people, it's a great opportunity to meet people like this, future leaders. Indeed.
Okay, we want to thank you all who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Very tough one, I must say. Thank you, Eli, and to you, Desmond, and to all of you who took time off to watch this edition. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.